Hey, hello. So, Mashin Microservices. Well, this is a little bit of a different stream from the usual microservices. Kinda. Still gonna do microservices, but gonna do something a little bit different. I'm kind of just gonna use this time, and I'm gonna try and put in a regular slot where you can ask me questions, we can do some things, and well, we can play some video games. And I think it might work, it might not work, but we can see. So let's take a look. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to play some Them's Fighting Herds. And the sort of the rationale behind this is because, well, I decided I'm going to play it evil. And I'm not very good at fighting games. I do enjoy fighting games, but Evo's opened up 4 games. We've got Them's Fighting Herds, Skullgirls, both amazing indie games, Killer Instinct, and Mortal Kombat 11. And what you can do with this is you can register and you can play. Because obviously, COVID, the tournament, which is generally in Las Vegas, Nevada, isn't going to be running ahead. So all you fine people, you can go, you can register for Evo, and you can play. So I thought, well, I'm never going to go to Evo. Why don't I play? And the game I want to play is Them's Fighting Herds. It's kind of an interesting game. So Them's Fighting Herds is it's a bit of a bizarre game in some ways. I mean, what you actually have are these rather adorable little pony type characters. I mean, like quite literally. Let's have a look. Them's Fighting Herds. So originally this game was somewhat of a rip-off of, well, My Little Pony. And one cease and desist later, the original designer of the My Little Pony actually got together with the developer of the game, and they produced this, which is a fun little game. The interesting thing about this game is mainly the fact that what's classified, you hear it a lot in gaming, netcode. It's not really a term. It's just the network server code. The way that the game kind of interacts online is incredibly good. It uses GGPO, which is GGPO, an open source implementation of rollback network coding. So the difference between kind of rollback netcode and sort of a latency-based sort of network or netcode or standard sort of netcode is that with rollback, what it does is it tries to kind of predict things ahead of time. So in games, specifically in fighting games, you kind of have this setup type approach. So if I'm going to punch you, I press a button on my controller, and there are a number of frames before the punch starts. And then there's a number of frames whilst the animation kicks in. So with rollback netcode, you can kind of preempt that. So what happens is the kind of the lag doesn't take into account those startup frames. So you have that approach. So algorithm, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of doing a little bit of an informal stream. A little bit about gaming, but if you've got questions about coding or about microservices or about any of that, you just hit them up in the chat there, and I will gladly answer them. But just doing a little bit of an informal social session. So with rollback, you have that preemption. If the assumption is incorrect, so if the character does something different, then you basically roll back the frames. But it more often than not gives you a much better experience. So I mean, let's take a look at the game. Over for my controller. This thing weighs a ton. We got the controller there. All right, so Them's Fighting Herds. So let's first go into, let's have a look and see what we got here. We got training modes. Well, let's dig into the training mode. No, let's look at some tutorials. So one of the kind of the sort of the common things in a lot of fighting games, you have combos, and combo is a chain of moves which does crazy damage. So you hit somebody, you then go into a combo, and you want to kind of do a lot of damage. So let me just quickly sort of run into this. So which character are we going to pick? Well, I want to pick this fiery pony looking type character. So I'm kind of thinking, how's this relating to microservices? Well, that depends on you, chat. If you've got questions on coding or microservices, I'm just going to play some them fighting herds. But ultimately, we're going to play some online gaming. Well, we're back into the game. So basic combo, what's going on here? All right, so we're going to learn how to hit. So this is the concept. So when I hit my other character, my opponent is stunned. And depending on the move, they're stunned for more or less time, right? So stun doesn't last forever, but what you want to do is you want to try and go through as many sort of moves as possible before their stun runs out. So you want to keep hitting them, which restuns, etc., etc. And sort of the premise of a basic combo is that, and it kind of expands, and it's more sophisticated. I'm not gonna pretend I know all of the ins and outs of this. Right. So basic moves, we've got a number of different attacks. We've got a light attack, we've got a medium attack, and we have a heavy attack. So if we want to do a combo, what we're going to do is we're going to press all of those moves at once. So A, B, and then C. And we can do that again. A, B, C. Go. So you see there, you got to do it in a particular order. There's generally a bit of a rhythm. I've not really played this game much. It's kind of fun though. How can I do this in a proto buff? Oh, we got a question. So RPC message field 1 returns field 2. Okay, Harsh, I can show you that. Let me just spin up a coding window. So coding and microservices and all the things. Where's my mouse? Come on, mouse. There we go. Let me just start a new project. And what I will do is KDR, KDR, just call it temps. And right, let's open up a terminal here. So I'm going to add a new file. And what I want to add is my protos file. So I'm just going to call this service.protos. All right. So in terms of when you're building out a service in gRPC, hey Tom and hey Johannes, I'm just going to do service. Oh, this is very awkward to talk over the top of this keyboard. Let's go over here. Protocol buffers 3. So everything's broken up into messages and also into services. So now, when you define a service to kind of follow the approach that you were just asking there, so how do you do that? Service message sort of field 1 returns message field 2. You're going to be doing it like this. So you're going to define your proto, and you're going to define a service, and this is just called search service. And search service has these two messages. It's got search request and search response. So message, search request, and then we get message, search response. So we can just, what do we got? You're saying field one. Well, we can literally just call this field one. Field one, string, define the position, and we can just put the same thing there, field two. Field two. Let me just rename this. Okay. So now let me just put my semicolons in there. So you define it like this in gRPC. So what you can do is you've got the name, you've got the message, and you've got the type. So that kind of gives you this signature. Now this would define what's known as a unary message or a unary call in gRPC. The two different types, unary and streaming. So that's basically how you would define that. You would then use the proto-C command, and the proto-C command will allow you to then generate your code in whichever language you want to do, whether you want to use Go or whether you want to use Ruby or anything that's supported by proto-C, because protocol buffers are the sort of the basic definition. They kind of define your services and your messages. gRPC is more so it's the transport. Do we have some stuff in here? Maybe we can just go through it. So look at the quick start. Select the language and go. So the gRPC website here, grpc.io, I think is absolutely excellent. It's sort of takes you through all of those first services and shows you how to generate those codes. This is the proto-C compiler or proto-C generator, which takes the protocol buffers and it transforms those into Go code or whatever language. Harsh is saying, even if the fields in the request and response are the same, we have separate messages for them. So you don't have to have Harsh. You can define the messages exactly the same. So I could just have, I'll just call it a message of search. I'm going to apologize. I've put this the right way around, not the go way. And whoops. So you could do it. You can do it like this. gRPC just requires a message. It doesn't matter what the message is. It can be absolutely anything. You have to specify a message as well. So even if you don't want anything, if it's just nil or null, you don't have a parameter that you want to pass the search, you just define a null message. Let's have a look. Just go back through the questions. Have I considered streaming on Twitch? I can set the category for your stream and you might have more luck switching between coding. I have, Saturn. I do actually have a Twitch account, and I was thinking about doing that on Twitch, but I figured I wanted to kind of try and see if there was any interest in doing something a little bit informal and just mixing this up, have a little bit of a social stream. Hey Tom, how you doing? Am I looking forward to HashiConf? I certainly am. I think HashiConf is going to be very interesting this year. Obviously, everything's going to be digital, which, well, you know, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, I think, for many people, because it's the first time we've done that. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm really excited about what Jana and the team are doing. They're putting a lot of great effort in there. So look, do I have an opinion about HashiCorp's Go plugin approach? I do have experience and opinion. As you may sort of imagine, I've got an opinion on many things. So Go plugin, what is Go plugin? Let's take a quick look at this. So Go plugin. And I'm going to open up this one as well, because this is important. I'm going to link a new tab, but I want this one. So Go plugin is a package which was written originally by Mitchell when Terraform was being built. And the intention behind Go plugin is to make applications or servers extensible. So the Go plugin can use a number of different methods, but predominantly gRPC is the interface which is used for the plugin. So a plugin kind of implements a server, and then it's loaded by the other application, which then creates a client to it. So Go plugin allows you to kind of extend your applications. If you look at the way that Terraform works, Terraform obviously has the core application, and then it has all of the sort of the providers which are implemented as plugins. So they're extensible, they can be loaded dynamically, and they can be distributed independently. So when you kind of look at Go plugin, and you sort of might say, well, hey, why use Go plugin when I can actually just use Go's actual plugin? The main reason is that Go, the package plugin, which is in the Go standard library, is somewhat it's still work in progress. I mean, the support is only on Linux, FreeBSD, and Mac OS, whereas the HashiCorp Go plugin, you can use that on anything where you can compile Go, so any of the supported architectures. So look, Harsh is saying, says a person whose name, field's name and address. Yeah, so that's really easy. You would literally just do it like this. So we just go back, and we're going to do name, which is a string, and we will just do address 1, address 2, 3, and postcode. 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. And then you're just going to define that like so. So you could search for a person, and you could return a person. Ideally, you don't want to change another, create another message for the address field. Yeah, I mean, you can do it just like this. There's no reason at all why you couldn't use a person for search criteria, because then that gives you the ability to search on a number of different fields. But yeah, that setup there that I've got on my screen would serve you pretty well. You might want to return multiple persons in some instances, and you can return a list, but you can return a list of persons. Hey Edwin, you're doing your CDK exams. Don't worry, you'll crush it. It'll be absolutely fine. And hey Adi, how are you doing? Now, anybody has any questions? So that combo, you should join Evo. You should get on there, and we can do have like team microservices. Get all the geeks together. Oh right, so now let's have a look at this. Right, see, so what we're going to do is we're going to do an ABC, and then we're going to do a launcher. So a launcher is going to then hit my opponent up into the air, and I'm going to be able to jump up and chase them and give them another good beating. So ABC. Oops. Oh dear. Ah, I see. There we go. See, it's down, and C. Okay, so let's try that again. There we go. And try that again. See, kick him up in the air. What projects is everybody working on? Are you working on anything interesting you want to share? Oh yeah, that Tony's taking a beating there. How would I do testing? Anything different for gRPC? No, not at all really. What I do for testing for gRPC is just follow exactly the same approaches that I follow for testing HTTP endpoints. the benefit of gRPC is you can build your servers because you have this. You're implementing an interface for. Well, let me show you. Got an example down here. It's really difficult trying to type over the top of this thing. Code. Right, let's open it. So the nice thing about gRPC is that if I take a look at a proto I have here, and I've got get rates and subscribe rates. Now what that generates when I actually push that through the proto-C command to generate my gRPC is I get this, which I need to implement. So I then have to implement an interface, and this is really nice because it's pretty straightforward, right? So let's have a look at my implementation. So my implementation is just a strut. It's a strut. It has to have the methods get rate and subscribe rate, but it's ultimately just a strut, and the parameters for the method are pretty straightforward as well. So we're just going to have context, and we're just going to have our prototypes and request and response. So it makes it really, really, really easy to test because all you're doing is testing a method. You don't have to do anything sophisticated or anything complicated at all. You can you obviously still do a bit of wrapping up and do some functional testing around the sort of the edges of it to make sure that everything's hooked up and connected. But super, super easy to test gRPC, just literally exactly the same as testing methods. Working on a rhythm game in Unity that uses MIDI data. Nothing with networking. That sounds great. I kind of want to try out one of these rhythm games sometime. I keep meaning to. They look like pretty relaxing, pretty good fun. You should think about putting networking in there. Maybe check out GGPO, Saturn. Maybe you could do an implementation of rollback netcode in your game and get some multiplayer going on. I think that could be fun. Play against a couple of different people. Thoughts on TDD and all the various different kinds. Oh, sorry, my bad. There we go. I forgot to switch windows. Still got the ponies up there. So yeah, so you've just got testing gRPC is super easy. You're just testing methods because you just have a very, very simple strut. So you do your dependency injection in your constructor following that idiomatic Go approach, and then you can just write TDD around get rate. So it's really, really easy. TDD, I'm a big fan of TDD. I like it to help me to actually develop my code. I do, mostly I would say I would follow a test-driven approach. I think I always write tests and I strive for decent coverage, but I'm not 100% dogmatic on that. I think it's, I'd be pragmatic about how I go about it. But I like most things in TDD with the exception of table-driven tests. I'm not a great fan of table-driven tests as a sort of a method of approaching TDD, but I just find them really difficult to read. So I'm not a great fan of those. So we're back into this. So it says, okay, so after we launch our opponent, we can jump after them and do the basic combo again. So this is going to give us that extra hits. Saturn, if you ever get into the GGPO, and I'm kind of, I've been meaning to look into this for a while, but I wonder if there's a Go implementation. I'm guessing it's probably C++, but I'm wondering if we could write like a Go wrapper on that. But right. So we do our launcher, and then what we can do is we can attack up in the air. So we can go up one. Whoa. Oh, sorry. Gosh. Right. Oh, missed that one. There we go. So this is kind of that premise of that combo, that you do the combo, you do the launcher, and then you can go back into another combo to get extra hits. And all because the opponent's still in that stun state. Yeah, I think Saturn. I wrote a cloud pong game. It was very, very simple. I actually did it to kind of show how to use gRPC streaming across service mesh. It wasn't particularly the most efficient. It wasn't really designed to. It was just for a bit of fun. But I've been meaning to kind of dig into that. I'm kind of wondering whether I can implement ggpo and do some stuff around that, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. What are my opinions on cloud native? What are my opinions on storage in cloud native landscape? So this is really interesting. I think sort of when you start to look at microservices, one of the problems many people face is around state. And there's sort of this convention that you should be stateless. And I think what that predominantly means is you shouldn't store state in the application, either in application memory, or you shouldn't store state on the application's sort of local storage, predominantly just because you're using containers and things get moved around and they get destroyed. So state is important and it's essential for most applications. And using things like cloud storage is, in my humble opinion, a really, really good way to do it, because you don't need to worry. You're offloading all of the complexity around managing the storage, backing things up, managing the encryption and things like that. You don't have to do it. It's all kind of handled. Now, Google I've never used this, but there was a project from Google or from the CNCF a while back, which defined an interface in Go for a kind of a common approach to cloud storage. So you basically used one interface, and you could do things like interact with AWS S3, you could interact with Azure Cloud Storage and GCP. And cloud storage, storage SDK. I just can't remember what it was called. It was called Go Cloud or something. Let's Cloud SDK. Nope. Yeah, I wonder what happened to that. It was it seemed like an interesting project. If I find that, if I come across it, it's still alive, I'll post a link up. I might actually do a short video on that in all things microservices, because it could be really, really interesting. Kind of, it's nice to have an abstraction from that sort of thing, because it just makes your code more portable. New to Go and learn some basic concepts. Ask how you can approach a learning path in terms of tech and methods. I think it's really, I wouldn't say difficult. I think coding is about persistence and it's about dedication. I think it's always difficult. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think the key thing is it's persevering, and it never really gets easier. You just kind of get more complicated problems, but it's about sort of that perseverance. Mr. Eric Veld in the house there, maybe we can get him to play some Them's Fighting Herds. But I think the way that I always approach things is just do a lot. So, build something for fun. I think that's a great way to kind of learn. Getting an opportunity in work is another sort of great thing to do, but build something for yourself. Build something fun. Don't even build something serious. Please don't build something serious. Gosh, no. Build something stupid. Like, well, I might see if I can resurrect it, but one of my sort of hack projects last year, I built it's a Parrot mini drone, and I glued a Raspberry Pi to it, like literally, and then put Go on the Raspberry Pi, interfaced via Wi-Fi. So I had a client-server application using gRPC, and I could control the Raspberry Pi and the drone. Let me go find it. 1 second. Here we go. At least I think it's in here. If we can work out how to open the box. There we go. So I took a Parrot Mini drone. This was a relatively inexpensive thing. And a Raspberry Pi on the top. This is not the actual Raspberry Pi. I can't find that. Oh, I know where that is. But, that's in another disastrous project that Eric and I were actually working on, which was Whack-A-Pod. But we'll come to that another day. But essentially, the Raspberry Pi on top of the drone has Wi-Fi, and you've got the ability to just interface to it. I can run a little application on there. I can run an application on my computer, and I can fly the drone using GoDroid, because the GoDroid, it can interface with the Bluetooth on the Parrot drone from the Go code and the Bluetooth module on the Raspberry Pi. You know, it was a lot of fun. It was a good way to learn some new techniques and new sort of things to try out. So I definitely recommend doing something like that. I could solve some of the problems. Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, there's actually a number of different sort of pretty good applications out there for which kind of have the catacoda type challenges and things like that. I think they're a lot of fun. So Jan, oh hey then, Nathul, how you doing? Harsh, can I do an episode on gRPC error codes? Yes, it's coming next week. gRPC error codes are really interesting. It works slightly differently. I mean, you're dealing with kind of that client server application. You're dealing with things on HTTP, but it's different, right? I mean, you're using HTTP as a transport, but you're not using HTTP as an interface protocol in the same way as you would with the RESTful service. So all of those HTTP error codes, the 404s, the 501s, the 500s and the 200s, the 201s, and all of that you would use with an HTTP service, you can't use with gRPC. In terms of HTTP, you get a yes or a no, and that's it. An error code in gRPC is actually encoded into the protocol buffer, into the transport itself. So we will cover how you create custom error messages, use the standard error messages, and how you can kind of pass those backwards and forwards across gRPC. Yeah, coming super soon. I've got an episode coming out tomorrow which finishes up the binary, the bidirectional screaming. It literally is bidirectional streaming, and then yeah, we're gonna bounce that out. Trying to build a call stack with the AST packages so we can see what auto functions are called. Like there are too many type conversions. Oh, Jan, yes. I don't know if I want to get into the whole generics thing, but one of the beauties of Go is its simplicity. And I like that a lot. I like that a lot because I'm not a very smart chap and I don't have a great memory. But with simplicity, you suffer with certain things. And one of the things that you suffer with is that you end up digging with a lot of reflection when you're starting to handle data structures and things like that. So, yeah, unfortunately, I apologize about that. One of the things I would look at, Jan, around some of the stuff around order of functions, maybe you can get some of that stuff out of the profiler. So the Go profiler, which that has quite a lot of info in there. You might be able to get some good stuff in there. Whack-A-Pod, the cigar box with the dodgy buttons and the wires it had to write. Yes. Now this has to come out, I think. So this is Whack-A-Pod. Whack-A-Pod is a wonderful. It was. Oh, look at that! I've got it's picking up the chroma green on the button there. It's a really fun thing, and you can kind of see the the mess of wiring there. That's what you get when you don't use a circuit board and you hand wire buttons. But what Wackapod allowed you to do is we had a little Raspberry Pi running inside it, and that was connected up to a server. So we were testing the resilience of an online clustering server, because every time you hit a button, it killed an instance of the application. And of course, the scheduler would spin up a brand new one, so you could basically play Wackapod. And you could see if you could take the application out by, if you were quick enough, you could hit all of the buttons, which was hella fun. And I think I might link the video up on that. But yeah, I kind of I ended up flying to Barcelona with this thing in my hand luggage, which let's just say customs were interested in that. Have I tried Rust yet? You know, I'm keen on trying Rust. I want to try Rust because I'm interested in looking at some WASM stuff at the moment, specifically looking at around extension for Envoy, and Envoy extension uses WASM filters, and currently the best implementation of the Envoy ABI is in Rust. So yeah, I might do that. I might start coding up some Rust, but I don't know. I think I'm too old and too stupid to learn a new language now. So D, you want to learn to build a project, and you certainly won't give up. Nope, don't give up, dude. You'll get through that. The key thing is you've just got to kind of like keep going, and definitely, you know, I love the concept of bringing together the physical and the virtual, and looking at code and electronics. Things like the Raspberry Pi is a great device for doing stuff like that, because you can the thing with the Raspberry Pi you can do is you can use all of the GPIO headers, so all of the pins on the Raspberry Pi, no, I can't find it now, can be controlled through your programming code. So you can wire up LEDs, switches, potentiometers, and all things like that, and they can have either an input or an output on your programming code. So it's super good fun, and in fact, maybe I'll get Eric on the show one time, and we can talk about Dance Dance Revolution, which Dance Dance Automation. Sorry, we better give it the proper branding name, that we built for HashiConf last year, which was a game similar to sort of the Dance Dance Revolution games, but we built that in Unity 3D. Eric, I think you did the front end in, and it was all Raspberry Pi and hooked up. It was kind of Wackapod on steroids. It was very very good. Why do we need WASM when we have gRPC streaming? So in this particular instance, what happens is the WASM is used as an extension of Envoy. So if you want to add functionality to Envoy, at the moment, what you have to do is you have to compile some C++, and you've got to get that mainlined. With the WASM filters, that allow you to create a sort of a language independent interface. So they've implemented the JavaScript, the V8 engine inside of Envoy, so Envoy will be able to execute those WASM plugins, which are incredibly fast. They're not as fast as C++, but they're very fast. Ah, missed it. Dropped that combo there. So close. It was Godot. Yeah, it was really cool though. The sort of the 3D interface was very sweet on that thing. Damn you! These combos are all about the. Oh, so close. What are my thoughts on building Raspberry Pi server clusters and server and running Kubernetes and distributed systems on them? I mean, it's a lot of fun. I used to have a Raspberry Pi cluster which I had Nomad console and Vault running on. I used Nomad because it's a wonderful scheduler, and it'll run on anything, and it's super easy to configure, and it's super light. You can actually run Nomad on a Raspberry Pi Zero. In terms of building clusters, I would check out something like Rancher's K3S. I think Rancher's K3S will run on a Raspberry Pi, but it's much lighter than the full Kubernetes distribution, but it's still compliant with the Kubernetes API. But yeah, super good fun. Yeah, pretty inexpensive as well, and you can get some actually really high-powered Raspberry Pis at the moment. Oh, jeez, I'm never going to get anywhere at Evo if I keep dropping combos like this. All about the timing, as is so much in life. We're not getting anywhere with this. We're gonna get hammered, I think. I think there's a kind of a metaphor to programming with playing fighting games there. It's really frustrating, and you never seem to get it right first time, and it's just a kind of persevering, repeating, constant repetition on you. Oh gosh. Keep hitting medium. Let's have a look at how it's supposed to be done. See, it's all about timing, so it's... But I've dropped one part of that there. Was everybody else building anything cool? What am I working on at the moment? Oh, sorry. Well, what am I working on? A couple of little things. I think I'm trying to kind of work through the building microservices with Go content, and Mr. Veld there and I have been working on an application called Shipyard. And Shipyard is all about building cloud native development environments, and we're pretty proud of the way things are kind of working on Shipyard at the moment. But we're kind of just going through. We want to get the docs up before we kind of throw things out to the internet. But you can download this and you can play with this right now. You'll find a build for pretty much just every architecture. It works on Windows, Macintosh, Linux, and all of those things. And what it allows you to do is you can, as I say, spin up various resources. So if anybody's familiar with Terraform, you'll have familiar-ish with a syntax like this. So you're using these stanza blocks to define, say in this instance, a Docker container. But also we can do things like defining a stanza block here to define a Kubernetes cluster. And everything is all glued together, and everything is all kind of nicely sort of aware of everything else. So there's a full sort of acyclic graph around task dependencies and things like that. So you can do stuff like spin up a cluster, and then you can define a Helm chart, and everything will kind of spin up. But you also get the ability to do some docs. So for example, if I use this quick approach, and let me just kind of bounce my terminal up there. Let me paste that in there. Then what this, oh, I don't have Docker running. Shipyard is telling me that Docker isn't running. I type my password over the top of this massive arcade stick. But there we go. So what Shipyard is doing here is it's just spinning up a bunch of resources. So I'm going to install a Kubernetes cluster. I'm going to install Vault on that Kubernetes cluster using the Helm chart, and it's going to do some basic provisioning. Talk about how lightweight is Shipyard compared to Minikube and Kind. So Shipyard is hugely. I mean, Kind is quite lightweight. It still uses a reasonable amount of memory, kind of in the gigabyte for the container alone, because it is full Kubernetes. But I do love Kind, and Shipyard will support it at some point. Shipyard uses K3s. So K3s is a very lightweight Kubernetes distribution. We run it in a Docker container just to keep things isolated, keep things clean, so that you can tear things up and destroy them. But what I'm actually running here is I'm going to be spinning up K3s. So that's all done. It's now installing the Helm chart because it detected the Kubernetes cluster is up and is running, and it's now health checking the Helm chart. So before the next step, it's going to make sure that Vault is installed, and Vault is up and running. And you can see there that the health checks. There we go. So that's all up and running, and we've got everything there. So we can do this. Let me just open. Is that going to work? I've not run this in a while. I'm not running the docs on this one. But I have, let me just do export kubeconfig. So you can see there we've got Vault running inside of Kubernetes, kubectl get svc. We've got some services there, but everything is running inside of Kubernetes. But we've also got this ability to do these. Well, they're called ingress gateways. So I can do 182. Whoops. If I can type over the top there. But you can see there I've got Vault UI running, and all of that is just running on top of Kubernetes, all spun up with Shipyard. And if I want to kind of tear it down, I can just do Shipyard destroy, and that's going to tear everything down there. It's possibly WSL2. I'm a big fan of WSL2. It's kind of it's on the edge of getting there, I think. We're not too far away. So there's a bunch of stuff on IoT. I think IoT's it's going to be everything. I mean, everybody's got Google Homes and they've got light switches and all sorts of fancy stuff. So I'm a big fan of edge compute and IoT. Am I a self-taught programmer? I would say yes, and I would say no. So I did go to university and I studied computer science, but predominantly I would say everything, other than sort of learning some good grounding and some basics, I pretty much taught myself. So my first job was working for the Environment Agency in the United Kingdom, and I was working on some software for Visual Basic, written in Visual Basic, and Visual Basic to actually interface with these field loggers. And what the field loggers would do is they would allow you to go out and collect the data that was recorded from the rainfall stations and from the river level monitoring stations, because all of that would come back and that would be building the models to determine what would flood if there was heavy rainfall. So that was kind of like the first programming job that I was doing and I was working on. I taught myself all of the Visual Basic there. And then I think kind of my first real job was when I went to work for a company in Amsterdam called Lost Boys, and what I was doing over there is I was building PHP websites That was really, really cool. Again, pretty much self-taught around PHP. A colleague and a sort of buddy of mine from up in Newcastle, we had this. It was all the sort of the .com boom when we were going to build this automotive parts system, where we were going to build this system, which we were going to sell as a software as a service to car companies, companies who were selling parts for cars, so that you had this kind of big regional ordering system, and somebody could, from London, find a part for a car that was available up in Newcastle, pop it in the post, etc. But yeah, we learned PHP to be able to do that, and we didn't take off because we were a little bit young and, well, a little bit sort of, it was a nice dream, but we learned a lot of interesting stuff. Have I done anything with Alexa and Google Home? Yeah, I love Alexa and Google Home. We did stuff for HashiConf in Amsterdam with Google Home, which was a lot of fun. Actually, it was we automated our traffic splitter using Google Home, so changing the kind of the percentages of traffic. So it was good. It was good fun. How did I join HashiCorp? This is kind of interesting. Well, it's interesting to me. So I think the approach that I sort of took when I joined HashiCorp was I was working for a company in London called Not on the High Street, which was a really interesting company doing some great stuff. It was a marketplace for arts and crafts, small businesses, and collecting those together. And I was really enjoying it there, but sometimes you kind of start to get to the edge of things, and it's time to have a change. And so I was kind of complaining about work one Friday night, and just sort of found myself around the internet looking for stuff for Terraform, because I was actually working on just hacking a weekend example fun project around Terraform and serverless. And so I'm on the Terraform website, and what do I see? Well, I see that HashiCorp were looking for a developer advocate, and the role was in the United States. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to apply anyway, because even though I'm not in the United States, I'm in London. I don't care. I'm going to send them an email, and I'm going to say, hey, I'll move to the US, or maybe you can employ me in London. So that's what I did. I sent them an email. I filled in the covering letter, and I applied for the role, and then I completely forgot about it. So one day, I'm sitting at home, I'm waiting for a parcel to be delivered, and I'm checking my email, and I get an email. So I get this email from Armon Dadgar, who's one of the founders and CTOs of HashiCorp. And he's like, hey, I'm in London today. Sorry for the delay around getting back to you, but saw your application, and if you'd like to meet up for coffee, this is where I'll be at blah blah blah. And this was like in an hour and a half's time. Now I hadn't even showered. I'd like just got up, so I'm like, okay, I need to get across London. London's a big city, so I had an hour's travel, even though I live in London. So I quickly dive in the shower, jump out the door, go to see this chap who I've never met before. Don't particularly know what he really looks like. I did watch a talk where he introduced Nomad at Skills Matter when I was giving a talk myself the previous year, but didn't know from Adam. But anyway, I went to finally sort of met up with Armon in a coffee shop in London trying to think, it was in the east of London. I think it was near Brick Lane from what I recall, just around that way, I think. But anyway, I had a really good chat with him. He sort of said, would I like to take the interview process sort of more formally? I'm like, hell yeah. 3 months later, I was sitting on a plane heading over to San Francisco for my onboarding, and that was that was 3 years ago, but super fun. HashiCorp has grown a little bit since then. We've gone from I think there were 80 employees when I joined, and there's now 980, 960, nearly 1,000 anyway. In 12, just 3 years, 3 months, which is it's pretty incredible. Oh gosh, I'm never gonna get this combo. There's a lot of exciting tech. How do I stay updated with all the tech, and how do we decide which one to deep dive on? Well, I'm probably not the best example for anything, but I'm a pure geek, so I spend a terrible amount of time sort of digging into things, looking at things. I suppose it's one of my hobbies as well as my job, so that kind of that helps. I think newsletters are interesting. I think I would recommend everybody reads or tries to read newspapers. Newspapers, academic papers. You know, even if you just scan them. But there's some interesting stuff around the high level of things which are coming, and it's sort of interesting to dig into some of the computer science in a lot of cases. So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing stuff like that. I think as much as Twitter can be an absolute cesspool, it's also sometimes a really good place to find out about new projects. You've got the Golang channel on Reddit, and in general, kind of just following a sort of a Reddit, which is a topic in your interest, that can kind of work out. But yeah, you got I think you just got to dig in and just find things that interest you and just hack around with them. And you know, if it's fun, it's fun. And if it's not, just move on and try something different. But I recommend a side project is really useful as well. Just kind of something that you can apply it to, and yeah, hook that up with a Raspberry Pi, get some Alexa going on in there, build some stuff in DigitalOcean, get a little cheap server or something going, and just learn some interesting stuff. How do I find papers? So the morning paper is probably, I think, one of the finest resources that you'll find. So morning paper, just going to find so it's Adrian Coiler, works at AWS. Well, I think he's the chief scientist or something at AWS. A lovely chap. And subscribe to his email, because what he actually does is he will take the paper and he will also deconstruct it. So you find that a lot of sort of academic papers are really, really deep in sort of academic theory. There's a kind of a lot of jingo language and stuff, which is somewhat inapproachable, but Adrian sort of cuts through this and explains it in somewhat plainer terms. And I think what's interesting as well about this sort of stuff is that if Adrian finds it interesting, then it probably is interesting, because he's obviously looking at what's going on and what's going to be coming next inside of AWS, who have got an incredible tech setup over there. What would I suggest as a fresher who's looking for a job in the Go world, like communication skills and coding side also? Oh gosh, it's been so long. I'd really struggle to answer that. One of the things I think is about just sort of determination. I think you've got to get a balance between work and life, and I think that's a key thing. So it's very easy to fall into a trap where you're just working all of the time, and it's very easy to fall into a trap where you think that you've got to work 20 hours a day. I would argue that if you're interested in tech, then do the sort of the hours that you've got to do for your organization and work hard. But you need to have a little bit of a diversion. So again, if you want to keep coding, then it's maybe better to employ your time in looking at maybe maintaining your own open source project, maybe contributing to an existing open source project or something like that. But just to kind of keep a little bit more rounding on your skills. But I think it's kind of just apply. You want to find a good company, and don't be afraid to leave if you don't find a good company, because there are good companies and there's bad companies. Oh gosh, I'm so close there. I keep getting that launcher too soon. Darn it. I do want to say that you're all responsible for me getting probably a very poor performance at Evo, because you've got me talking instead of getting this. I think this is, I was saying this earlier, but I swear this is metaphoric for coding. I don't think I'd ever be the best best fighting game player, but I do enjoy playing them. Oh, so close. Yeah, pebcacking the buttons. If anybody doesn't know what pebcacking problem is between Eric, problem is between the keyboard and the chair. Problem exists between keyboard and chair. Well, I might do these streams a little bit more often, because it's you know, just sitting in front of the computer and saying words and kind of kicking the daylights out of this poor little green-haired pony here, but I get that down. Combo. Oh yes, look at that. There we go. Do I want a fight stick? Yeah, I got a couple. I can't resist modding things. So, yeah, right. Who would believe that? You want to look at some keyboards, but yeah, I have this. This is actually a HoriWrap Real Arcade Pro, the Hayabusa. Which is for PS4, but it works great on the PC. This is a nice stick. It's darn heavy, but I have yeah, I've modded this slightly, so it's got a heavier spring in it, and it has the octagonal gate, which means that the standard Hori fight stick only has what's got a square gate. So if you think about it in terms of the circle, you've got this square and you're moving around the circle in the square, right? So it's like corner, 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 corner. So you like bang, 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 right? Whereas the octagonal gate, obviously, it's more eight corners, right? So it's like a little bit smoother. It's easier for you know, the sort of the classic quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, half circle movements. I think it kind of feels nice. And I've also replaced the buttons, which I'm not sure really makes a difference, but they make me, it gives you the mental advantage. So I've got Sanma buttons in here instead of the Hori buttons, which, well, hey, why not? And I've got the, up there, I have a Hori, which is the fight stick for the Switch, which is similar. It's a slightly smaller and slightly lighter. It's nearly as modded. It has bigger spring and the octagonal gate, but I haven't replaced the buttons. Yeah, I'm thinking about Valorant. We need to get into this sort of pro esports game. I think this is the future. I think there's kind of like all this microservice stuff. Nah, it's all about pro esports. That's where we need to get to. Oh, so close. Oh, you. What did you do last night? Well, I watched some nerd press buttons whilst trying to do a pony combo. Oh, I'm going to get this. goddamn pony. Die, pony. Oh, gosh. I'm just all fingers and thumbs. I really love this game, though. Look at the graphics. I mean, there's you've got to have a pretty warped sense of creativity to build something like this, and I appreciate that absolutely. Oh, the anti-cheat software. Ah, yes. That's you know, in some ways, that's one of the nice things about the PlayStation. Oh, come on. Oh, that was it. Come on. That was 7 hits. This thing is tricking me. Why did the combo previously strike through the buttons and now it doesn't? It's all timing. So, and my timing is bad. So if I'm a little bit slow, I'm also in sometimes mashing out of order. So I'll hit medium and then light rather than light then medium. Oh, look at that. You see, that was a definite, that was a combo. And calm. See? How many of the software services you have subscribed as now, and how many of them are related to microservices? Do you mean which software services, like tooling or things like that? Oh, goodness. Where am I going wrong with this? Right. ABC launcher. AB. I'm missing the middle. Sorry, D. Yeah. So in terms of services I subscribe to, probably too many. Obviously, a lot of the sort of the Google services I like. I'm a big fan of Google Drive, and I think I do pay for Gmail on one of my accounts. So I've got like a paid for Gmail on my private email address. I'm a big fan of that. In terms of stuff that I have work-wise, I use a lot of open source tooling. So you know, things like Visual Studio Code. I'm a big fan of that, and that's a free tool. But we do also sort of pretty heavily consume cloud accounts. DigitalOcean, I think, is a really nice cloud. The price point, because you can actually create quite small machines, is great for dev and test environments. But also use Google Cloud, AWS, and Azure, all three of the major sort of clouds, to be honest. In my job, we tend to use quite a lot of, like we need to use Adobe Suite and stuff because we're sort of recording videos and editing sort of tutorials and things like that. So we do have Adobe sort of cloud. I mean, I think the sort of one of the nice things about oh, there we go, got it. I think one of the nice things about sort of modern day sort of tools and code is that you can find a lot of stuff which is really free, which is great, because when I started, everything had to pay for. Well, that's not true. You had to steal everything from the internet, but or you had to pay for it, which as a graduate you didn't have any money. And if you did, that was for beer. It wasn't for coding stuff. So yeah. Yeah, I love DigitalOcean. The thing I like about DigitalOcean as well is they're such a lovely company. I mean, genuinely, I've sort of never had a bad interaction with any of the people who work there. They're just sort of all very, very committed to creating great solutions. The user experience is absolutely fantastic. Love those guys. Really, really do. Folks. Love those folks. So this is that quarter circle forward and quarter circle back. So this is the kind of the kind of the classic shuriken, fireball type move that you would find in sort of the early Street Fighters. It's lasted well, but there we go. We got that sort of move. I love special moves. It's one of my favorite bits about fighting games. It's just kind of big, bold, flashy special moves. So we get a different move. Okay, so in this game, I get a different move. I get a volcanic ash, which is this. Okay, so that's like an anti-air. And a bash. Okay, let's have a look at that. Okay, so it kind of runs in forward and then knocks them up in the air. So we do that. We can combo off that, right? Because they've got them up in the air. And then volcanic crash. Okay, it's kind of like a throw, I think. Okay, so we can actually combo. This is a great tutorial because it's actually telling us that we can combo as well off the volcanic ash. Oh, okay, so we got to do it off the ground bounce. Okay. Yeah, gosh. Yeah, well, we might be here sometime. Gosh. Okay, I think I kind of... Again, like everything, it's all about timing. Let's watch the demo and see what the timing is on this. Oh, we don't have a demo. Ooh, okay. Well, I guess I got to just stand there. How do I find working remotely for a big tech company? I love it. I live in London, and I have desires to not live in London. So I think what I'll probably so my mother-in-law lives in London, so it's there's kind of bits and pieces going on, but yeah, I think one day we'll sell up in London and probably buy a nice place down by the coast in Devon or Cornwall. That's the dream anyway. But working remotely gives you a lot of opportunities around that. It sort of also saves me a lot of time every day. I don't need to commute, so I basically have 2 hours back a day. I finish work at 6 p.m. I start at 9 a.m. So I work my 8 hours. It takes me, I got quite a commute. It maybe takes me maybe 10 meters to get to my office. And then of course you finish at 6 p.m. and I'm down for dinner in 1 minute past 6. It's London's a great city to live in. Don't get me wrong, Commissioner. There, it is a lovely city. It's probably, I've traveled quite a bit, and it's one of my favorite cities on the planet. But it's also a very busy city. It's a lovely. I would always kind of say it's a nice city to visit. It's a difficult place to live in. There's a lot of traffic. It's quite heavy pollution, and things are very quiet at the moment, obviously. But when things are back to normal and the tubes are really busy, and it can be a hard place to live. And it's also incredibly expensive. That kind of sucks. Amsterdam, I loved Amsterdam. I mean, I lived there for 12 months, and I have to say it was probably one of the... I always enjoy going back to Amsterdam. I'm so pretty bummed, actually, we're not doing our annual conference again this year because I don't get to visit. But the thing I love about Amsterdam is it's just relaxed, and Dutch people are so absolutely friendly as well. I mean, the Netherlands is one of the most friendly countries, I believe, on the planet. Absolutely wonderfully polite people, apart from Eric, of course. But it's a kind of a great country, great city, and it's it's very beautiful. You've got some wonderful museums, good food. It's kind of nice beers, and it's easy living. You can cycle everywhere. You got the trams and great public transport. Yeah, but fully remote is pretty good. It's not scary. No, I mean it. I think you're kind of working remote, but you're talking to people every day. I mean, sort of Eric and I are, and Karim and now Rob as well. We spend quite a lot of time just kind of on a Zoom chat, so we're collaborating. So we're not in person, and that's a good thing because Eric makes terrible coffee, but we kind of do communicate in exactly the same way as you do in person, but you have all of the advantages without all of the disadvantages. So it's definitely a good thing, I think. Well, it'll be back next year, Tom. We'll and I think HashiConf Digital is going to be fun, and but yeah, we were really sad, but you kind of, I think you got to take things a little bit into perspective from our there's so much going on in the world right now, and there'll always be another HashiConf. So I think we'll probably, well, I'm guessing we'll be back at, if we can get the venue, we'll be back in Amsterdam. Hopefully, I hope we're coming back to Amsterdam next year. I don't know. I need to go and bug Yana about that. Gosh, I cannot get this combo. Because I don't know what the timing is. Where is the timing? It said on the bounce, didn't it? Okay, so... No. Nope. Goddamn pony's just taunting me. Darn you, pony. Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, the good thing about HashiConf Digital is where you've got the ability to attend digitally. There's going to be some pretty good MCs. There's going to be there'll be, well, at least one kind of slightly suspect MC, which I apologize in advance about. But there's going to be some great MCs. There's going to be some wonderful talks. We're going to try and do everything we can to try and sort of create a good sense of community and give people the opportunity to be able to chat and to communicate and stuff like that. And you can be 100% assured that we're going to make sure that the quality of the talks in terms of the production quality as well as the technical content is going to be absolutely top notch. Alrighty, I'm looking at the clock there, and I'm thinking I should probably switch this thing off and go and take my poor old doggo out for a little bit of a walk and maybe sink into some Netflix. Anything good on Netflix at the moment? Watching some Gundam. Maybe a series of Altered Carbon 2. Or maybe it's just kind of time to dig into some Crunchyroll and watch some One Piece or something along those lines. I want to thank you for watching. I will definitely, I think, probably do more streams like this if you like. If you don't watch them. I do admit it's a slight sort of break from the usual programming, but I've got a video on gRPC streaming which is coming very, very soon. I'm going to get that out hopefully tomorrow when I sort of... how many combos did I complete? Not enough, because I spent too much time talking. As you very well know, something I'm very good at, Eric. We'll kind of get that video out hopefully tomorrow if I can get it edited. And I've got some stuff, error messages. I'm going to try and get that out next week as well. And then gRPC middleware. And then we're going to start looking at gRPC, Go testing. So don't forget to like and subscribe for the usual programming. If you're just interested in Go building microservices with Go, just subscribe to the playlist. And then you won't be bothered with the notifications for Mashin and Microservices and all things microservices and stuff. We never get angry with junior devs if they don't perform well. that is an absolute no-no. So any senior who does that, like seriously, send them over to me, and I'll give them a thrashing, because that is it's unacceptable. You know, the thing is that people have got to learn, and you've got to give people the opportunity to learn, and you've got to help them to learn. The role of a senior dev is to help other developers and to bring them up to the level where they're at, because actually by teaching, you're also reinforcing your own ability, and you know, nobody should be pressuring you. It's a sort of a progressive thing. Everybody has to start somewhere, and everybody did start somewhere. Nobody was born with the amazing innate ability to be able to program at a very high level, regardless of what they tell you. Oh, I've got Amazon Prime, Harsh. Yeah, Black Mirror is great, right? And Charlie Brooker. It's a bit too much like watching a documentary as opposed to anything else. Which scares me. I need to fix my chroma key. Well, it's the light, unfortunately. And look at that. It looks kind of like I am sweating a little bit. Oh no, look at that. It's unfortunately the light, because the light shines through the corridor here and it cuts across, so it's affecting my setup and my green screen there. Got the power of illusion. You see? And now you can see where I keep my secret stash of Haribo. Alrighty. I'm going to bounce. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all next time again. Don't forget, like, subscribe, smash that bell button. And I want to kind of make just one last thing. I do monetize the channel, and the reason that I do that is because it gives me an opportunity to donate this out to charity. We don't make a huge amount of money. I think I made like $40 or something last month, but it's still $40 that went to charity, which, if nothing else, it would have been sitting in YouTube's bank. Moisturize here, right? YouTube's bank account. So this month, I was actually going to be donating to the NHS in the UK because of the COVID, but I'm actually going to change that. I'm donating this, and well, for the next 3 months, stream is going to go to charity which supports Black Lives Matter, because I think as a kind of a current thing, it's so much more important. So yeah, if you see adverts on the stream, it ain't going into my bank account. I literally make all of that just so that I can make some extra donations to charity. So thank you so much for persevering and watching for that. You're doing good stuff. Alrighty. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful Saturday, what's left of it, and a wonderful Sunday. Go and do some coding, and see you next time. Catch us.